Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary, where I do the research to try to teach you a little something about what you're drinking. Tonight we're going to continue with our Irish Whiskey Month and go with Tullamore DEW. This is a tried and true Irish whiskey, so let's get into it. If this is your first time with the channel and you like whiskey reviews, informational videos, or just general whiskey knowledge, make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss anything. So, in 1829, the Tullamore Distillery opened its doors in the heart of Tullamore Town. And for a number of years, it ran as a successful distillery, just like many other Irish distilleries. There was a man named Daniel E. Williams who was just working at the distillery, but was doing a great job and rose through the ranks to become a general manager, and ultimately the owner. At that point, he decided to rename the product from Tullamore Whiskey to Tullamore DEW. Now, one thing that I never noticed, and I'll put a graphic up here, is that in between the D.E.W. of DEW, there are periods. And this is actually the name of Daniel E. Williams. So those are his initials. Something I did not know prior to making this video. I thought that was pretty cool. So he obviously chose the name for his initials, but also for the play on words that dew implies, because dew is kind of, like the purest form of water. If you think when you wake up in the morning, it's just, you can't get more pure than dew. So I like that. I thought that was very, very clever. In 1954, unfortunately, just like many, many other Irish distilleries, the Tullamore Distillery had to close its doors. This was partly because of prohibition, politics, and taxes. Just like everything else that's good in this world, taxes have to take it away from us. But for a lot of years, about 60 years, they were closed. Then in 2010, William Grant and Sons bought the distillery, and it had changed hands a couple times, but William Grant and Sons, they decided to reopen it, and by 2014 they were producing Tullamore DEW again, and they brought it back to our world. So now that you know a little bit about the distillery, let's talk a little bit about the whiskey that they produce. So the Tullamore Distillery really came back with a vengeance in 2014. Now, because they're a blend, they didn't really have to worry about the fact that they didn't have a whole lot of stores saved up. So, they've got all the way up to 15-year versions available to them. So I'm just going to read this off because there's no way that I would memorize all of these. But they have the original, the 10-year, the 12-year, the Phoenix, the 15-year, the Old Bonded Warehouse, the Cider Cask Finished, and the brand new XO rum cask. And I do happen to have the XO rum cask, which I'll be doing on a video very soon. But other than that, they've got a lot of offerings. But because they're a blend, they were able to just kind of throw this together. And this particular one is triple distilled, and it is finished in an Oloroso sherry cask and old bourbon casks. So it's kind of got a lot going on. So let's find out how that comes across in the nosing and the tasting. So let's see how this, oh, by the way, yeah, so you guys always give me crap about making fun of twist tops. Look at this. This is what happens when you have a twist top. So that's, should be tight, right? Nope. So anyway, just had to prove my point. So let's go into the nosing and tasting. I guess I'll just slap that on there. Anyway, all right. So I'm gonna swirl that around for a minute, let it breathe just for a sec, and then let's nose. Now, 40%, this is not going to have a burn to it, so go ahead and inhale deeply. This is a good trainer for sure. There's actually a lot going on in here. From the notes I took earlier, the forefront is all about the honey, so it's very, very honey. Then there's red apple. There's some toffee in there, and then there's a strange metallic kind of nose to it, like almost like copper. I mean, it's not like, it's hard to describe. It's almost like, if you think about like the way a penny might smell. And there's a little bit of cinnamon in there as well. All right, so that's a pretty complex nose, especially for a $22 whiskey. So by all means, this is a good one to practice on. So let's go ahead and have a sip. Cheers. So the flavor is also pretty complicated. Complicated is not the right word. It's interesting. It's not dull. So I forget which one I did recently, but I know I referred to one as dull. So from this, I'm getting banana. And once again, that's a bit of a rare one to get. So the honey comes across and some banana, and then a little bit of the red apple for me, more like not the skin of a red apple, but like the inside. Think like a Red Delicious. I know that's very, very specific, but I'm attempting to get a little bit better with my specifics here. So been giving this whiskey a bit more thought this week. All right, then I had a little bit of the nutmeg comes across in the taste, and although I put down cinnamon, this time I'm not really getting it, so it's very subtle. Anyway, so what do I think about this whiskey? Because as I mentioned, it's $22. You know, is Tullamore DEW worth your money? At $22, it's hard to recommend too many whiskeys, but this one I do. Unless you are significantly experienced with whiskeys and really only drink them for the excitement of something that you may have never tasted before, or some exquisite like flavor that you've never seen or tasted. But in this case, this is an awesome starter. It is a great mixer. As you saw, I did my Irish coffee video. I used the Flaming Leprechaun for that. This is much more classic to put in that. However, either one is good. But I would encourage you to buy this if you've never had it. Even if you have had it, this is not a bad one to have hanging around the house, because this is a good daily sipper, and with an ice cube in there, this would actually be pretty refreshing in the summer. So for me, I would give this one a buy it to potentially actually even a stock it. It depends on if this is up your alley of a kind of thing that you'd like to have in your cabinets. I'm realizing that stock it is a lot harder to give my suggestion to do, because everybody's going to have a different opinion of what they like to keep in their closet. And there's so few of them that I would consider a must-have. This is very close to that, because if you ever have a party and you have some people who want to have a whiskey, this could be one that you offer them. It's probably something that they've heard of, so they might not be so scared to try it, and it's very approachable. And there's a lot to go on. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different notes in both the nose and the flavor. So that would be my recommendation. It would be a buy it to a stock it, and for $22, you're not going to go wrong. So thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. I look forward to seeing you next week, where I tackle Flaming Leprechaun, not Fireball. God, no, never. Flaming Leprechaun Irish whiskey next week. See you then.
If you want to help support the channel so I can review all the whiskey you love, check out my Patreon. It's easy to sign up, easy to contribute, and rewards start as low as $1 a month. You can get t-shirts, custom Glencairn glasses, or even come on a live stream. Follow the link in the description to get started.